Hi, I'm Saidah, and I promote Bitcoin adoption. I ran a podcast for a year. I collaborated with an organization called Satoshi's Journal, which focuses on Bitcoin use in education. And I am involved in the Geneva Bitcoin meetup, so my local Bitcoin scene here in Geneva, Switzerland. So the first question is, how did you first hear about Bitcoin and what piqued your interest? So while I was in business school, so 2016 and 2017, I heard a lot about blockchain, but I really started to say, oh, wait, Bitcoin, when I started listening to the Kaiser Report on a regular basis with Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert. My dad actually recommended that I watch the Kaiser Report. And so after I graduated, because I was so busy, I had free time to like getting ready in the morning and stuff to listen to the Kaiser Report. And what really piqued my interest was the sense that I was getting more truthful financial information compared to what the mainstream media was publishing. So, I mean, I'm like intellectually curious by nature, so I was like, oh, ho, ho, I really need to pay attention to this and learn as much as possible. And then they had guests like Saifedean Ammous on, who had, I think he published the Bitcoin Standard in 2019 or 2020. And so I went out and I bought the Bitcoin Standard like almost immediately and read it. And I was like, holy, like this is something that I really need to pay attention to. And they also had guests like Isaiah Jackson, Bitcoin Zay, who wrote Bitcoin in Black America, which I also picked up and stuff. So I would say that the Kaiser Report really was my like, okay, I need to pay attention. And then from there, I started learning about other people in the space. And what piqued my interest was just the fact that there was and there still is so much to learn and so much to do. Next question. Have you ever had a memorable Bitcoin win that made you especially excited about diving into the world of Bitcoin? So for me, a Bitcoin win is simply learning something new. It could be something technical because I'm not technical. My background is not computer science. Meeting new people, traveling to different places because of Bitcoin. All of those things for me are wins. So for example, last year in 2022, my family and I traveled to El Salvador. We stayed in El Sante, and that was a win in the sense that I had to persuade my husband that El Salvador was safe enough to travel to. It's not that he was against it or anything, but on the one hand, I was hearing a lot of positive things about El Salvador. And on the other hand, if I went to the Canadian Embassy website, or if I went to, I think even the Swiss Embassy website, there was a travel alert for El Salvador. And so, you know, again, because I watch Max and Stacy, I was like, they couldn't be lying. Like, they couldn't be encouraging people to go to this dangerous place. So we went, verified on site. I mean, my daughter was what, 2.5 at the time. It was totally safe. I got to meet Roman Martinez. I got to see how things were developing, and that was a total win for me. And yeah, it inspired a lot of hope and optimism in me, and it definitely motivated to keep, you know, trying to, I guess, participate in this space as much as possible. And next question, what advice would you give to women who are considering getting started with Bitcoin but may feel hesitant or unsure? My advice to women, and literally to everyone, is just ask yourself, why are you interested in Bitcoin? Know what your jump off point is, so to speak. Know what you are drawn to, and just go for it. Study as much as possible. I personally like to learn about economics and sort of how human behavior is shaped by the incentive structure. As I mentioned before, I don't have a computer science background, but I know that it's important to learn about these things. So I enrolled in 2017. There was a course through the University of California, Berkeley, EDX. It was a Bitcoin course, which I audited for free. I also, like later on, I did the Sailor Academy, Bitcoin for Everyone, I think it's called. It's a beginner's course, Bitcoin for developers. I bought Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. I check out so many different YouTube channels, podcasts, and stuff. And for me personally, it was really important that I take my time in understanding who's speaking, what their perspective is and stuff, because I needed to develop a level of trust, especially with, like getting a hardware wallet, like where do I start, and stuff. So I would say dive into it, take your time, and try not to focus on the fact that you are a woman, especially in the learning process. Open yourself to sources and also have your own criteria that allows you to verify whether this source is legitimate or not. Take your time. Next question. Can you share a funny or unexpected story related to your Bitcoin journey? Unexpected? If you had told me 10 years ago that I would willingly travel to El Salvador with my young child and my husband because of Bitcoin and because I followed someone on the internet, I would have said no way, like no way. I am in general very risk averse. So that is definitely an unexpected story. And I'm so grateful for the unexpected things in life because that was like really an eye-opening trip. Next question. Have you encountered any stereotypes or misconceptions about women and Bitcoin? How did you respond to them? So in real life, I talk about Bitcoin all the time in so many different contexts. And I guess one stereotype or misconception that I face is, somewhere in the conversation, the person will say, oh, did your husband get you into Bitcoin? And I'm like, no. Like, I probably got him, not probably, I got him into Bitcoin. But that's one thing. And then outside of real life, so on Twitter and even on Nostr, sometimes I see posts like we need more women in Bitcoin or we don't need more women in Bitcoin or I don't know. And honestly, it's not something that I focus on because from an adoption or a learning perspective, I don't always think that sex is relevant. I see it more as, like, let's say you are a woman and you have an online business, right? How does Bitcoin help you minimize your processing fees? Like I'm quite pragmatic in my approach to things. That said, if you are developing a business and you're incorporating some aspect of Bitcoin into your business and you're looking into your customer insights, what pain points they experience, and your business focuses on solutions that are on solving problems that are specific to women, then I would say that that's 100% relevant. But honestly, I try not to get into this whole like gender or sex divide because unfortunately it's taken a turn where it's more destructive than constructive. I know too that for some people, maybe for many people, representation matters. And so for me personally, I figure that just by showing up and participating and asking questions and learning and pushing things forward, we can see that, Bitcoin isn't only for, I think a few years ago, it was only for like rich white men or something, or conservatives or whatever. Bitcoin is truly for everyone. It's for enemies, it's for friends, it's for collaborators, it's for competitors. It's really for everyone. Next question. Has Bitcoin influenced your financial mindset or approach to money management in any way? So I grew up with parents who spoke about saving money all the time. My parents immigrated from Trinidad and Tobago to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And like many immigrants, they had to work really hard. They didn't have the privilege of, having sort of like references or, people already established in Canada when they arrived to help them, to give them favors and stuff. So they had to work really hard and they had to manage their money well. And I was fortunate enough to have parents who shared a lot of their experiences with me. And also, I really paid attention to many of the things they did and how they managed and what they were going through and stuff. So saving money, and money has always been part of even the bond that I have with my parents and stuff. So I would say that Bitcoin has definitely complemented that, because unfortunately with time I understood through theory and real life experience that saving money is just like, what does Michael Saylor say? A melting ice cube. Your purchasing power just continues to decrease with time. So with Bitcoin, I know from experience that even though the fiat price is volatile, the purchasing power for goods and services does increase with time. So Bitcoin has definitely been complementary to my financial mindset. Next question. What has been the most valuable lesson you've learned from your experiences with Bitcoin? I would say don't trust, verify. This applies to, you know, fiat. This applies to Bitcoin. This applies to people. It absolutely applies to everything and everyone. Don't trust, verify. I get feedback saying that sort of mindset is not always positive, maybe a bit toxic, because you're not trusting the world. And I understand why some people may feel that way, but for me personally, I can move with confidence. And I feel as though I am most comfortable in situations when I can verify and not trust. Next question. What resources or educational materials have you found helpful in expanding your knowledge about Bitcoin? There have been a lot. Go to my website, saidahgomez.com, SAIDAHGOMEZ.com. I have a resource tab where you can see some of the resources that I've shared. But off the top of my head right now, I would definitely say the Kaiser Report, even though they're not on it anymore. They have I think it's the Max and Stacy Report or the Max and Stacy Show, that I highly recommend. Obviously, Saifedean Ammous, the Bitcoin Standard, the Fiat Standard, I've got both of those. And I'm going to pick up Principles of Economics. Anita Posh has a very practical and pragmatic approach that I absolutely love. You can get started with different wallets and stuff and try things immediately. Andreas Antonopoulos, I mean, his old YouTube videos, I've got Mastering Bitcoin, still super relevant, super helpful. My God, there's so many of them. Durgigi, 21 Lessons. I absolutely love the stuff that Durgigi writes, because he takes me to another realm where I'm forced to stop and reflect and consider what he's writing about. Jameson Lopp, of course. Recently, I went to Le Paradigme Bitcoin, so the Bitcoin Paradigm, which was a conference in La Chaux-de-Fonds in the canton of Neuchâtel here in Switzerland. And Découvre Bitcoin, he's a French Bitcoiner, gave a presentation. He shared his university. It's called Sovereign.University. It's totally free. The information is available in French, English, and 2 other languages. And so far, from what I've seen, it's very, very good material. So I know a lot of the Bitcoin information resources are primarily in English. So if you speak French, or I forget the other languages that are listed, one of the 2 other languages, I would definitely recommend his content as well. BTC Sessions, he is also, his YouTube channel is so great. It's so informative. I've shared it with a number of people and they've all said that it's very helpful. Matt Odell, oh my God, another piece of Bitcoin advice: don't trust, verify, and also stay humble and stack sats. I've been listening to Matt Odell for a few years now, And I'm impressed by his ability to be consistent and to be humble. It is not easy. It is not easy to remain humble, especially, I may be projecting, so I'll speak about my experience. The number of people, probably hundreds of people now, that I've spoken to in real life about Bitcoin who've told me that I'm crazy, that it's for drug dealers, that it's for this, that it's for that, um, who've given me that feedback. And then slowly but surely, as institutional entities have entered the space, it's given the space more legitimacy in their eyes, like the business crowd eyes, I guess. And it is very difficult for me to not say, see, I told you so. So stay humble and stack sats, another good piece of information. Also, I guess I'm flipping all over the place, but Croesus as well, on Twitter, he's got some really good educational content. So there's so many of them. And one piece of advice when you're searching for educational content, I would say, is if someone is trying to sell you something right away, be very wary and maybe, don't go in that direction. Next question. Have you ever introduced someone to Bitcoin and witnessed their journey unfold? What was that experience like? So I think I've introduced quite a few people to Bitcoin. Some people share their journeys with me, some people don't. But I'll say that I introduced my husband to Bitcoin, and to see his outright refusal of Bitcoin a few years ago to now, him DCAing and asking me questions and knowing how to put his Bitcoin in cold storage, I would say that it's so fulfilling to see that change. And beyond that, to see him look, I guess, at economics slightly differently because of that exposure is it's so satisfying. It's really nice for me. Last question. What role do you think women can play in shaping the future of Bitcoin and the broader cryptocurrency industry? I don't know about the broader cryptocurrency industry because I'm not a part of that. In terms of women shaping the future of Bitcoin, it's, I think probably if more women are vocal and visible about Bitcoin, it can help influence Bitcoin adoption, because for those people who need representation to feel safe to enter a space, they'll say, oh, okay, she's a woman, or she's a Black woman, or she's a woman of color, or whatever you want to say. And that may encourage them to enter the space. But Bitcoin is Bitcoin. I don't think that any one person can shape the future, or one type of demographic can shape the future of Bitcoin. They can influence adoption. In the short to medium term, they can influence the fiat price of Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is bigger than all of us. And so I would, again, encourage women to learn as much as possible and speak to as many people as possible about Bitcoin, irrespective of their sex, their background, their religion, whatever. Find that common connection and engage with people.
Proudly brought to you by Bitcoin Dada.